Hey, this is Shane. This review is for Philly D's Book Club, month number 4. It is Artemis from Andy Weir. Now, before anybody starts comparing this book to anything else, I'm not going to do that. Simply because this book is not a continuation of The Martian, which if you haven't read it, do yourself a favor and do it. Highlights of the book for me personally had to do with a little bit of sabotage, had to do with the plot, and had to do with Jasmine, or Jazz, herself. I found myself being able to relate to her character very well because she only wanted to improve her circumstance and where she is in life. She actually gets her goals accomplished. Maybe not so much in the way that she wanted, but in the way that she needed, which isn't that the way that life happens? I found myself being able to relate to Jasmine in several ways. One, she's a stubborn little creature. Instead of getting hung up on the details, she just kind of went out there and did it, which isn't necessarily the best plan to have, but at least it gets a little bit of results. Jazz is certainly an anti-hero, being that she is a smuggler. In her own words, she is a honest lawbreaker, and people would much rather deal with her than a shady businessman. The plotline of the book could have been developed a whole lot more, I think, but then again, maybe Andy didn't want such a long book. There was an interesting thing about the book and its plot, and that it got complicated and then more complicated. So instead of having just one peak that had to be transversed for the story to get to its ending, there was multiple problems that had to be taken care of before Jazz could get to the end of the story. And that made it a little bit more fun for me than your average hero versus whatever. Rudy was a character that was kind of interesting. As far as security agents go, he was lacking forethought in some areas and then supernaturally on target in other areas. Her dad was a character of which I really enjoyed hearing about and listening to, because her dad had some very unique ideas about her and the world that he lived in, but instead of trying to change things, he accepts them. He brings them into himself, he loves them for what they are, and he just abides, much like the dude. Those were the characters that stuck out the most to me in the book. Now granted, you had Trant, and then you also had some of the bigger players in the book, but they were actually minor characters in the grand scheme of things because they just stepped in as movers to say, hey, I've got this problem. I want you to go and break something, or I need you to solve this problem. And now guess what? It's your problem too. So she ends up getting wrapped up in a lot of things. After her failed EVA test, she ends up in a bar drinking reconstituted scotch, then gets a text on a gizmo, and goes and meets up with the head of a billion-dollar industry. And the conversation went a little bit like, I got something I want you to do. I don't think it's something that you might do. It's a different enterprise altogether. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go break their equipment. She goes, not my thing. Then he goes, money. And she goes, okay, I'll do it. And I actually kind of found it a little aggravating. There was a lot of things in this book that I didn't really care for whenever it came to character choices. As smart and intuitive as Jazz is, and as she was wrote, I think that maybe she wouldn't have gotten herself into these situations to begin with. So she ends up accepting the job for 1,000,000 slugs and goes out and breaks 3 of 4. She goes back to turn in her quest. Yay, I got 3 of 4. Oh no, the guy that gave me the quest is dead. What am I supposed to do now? And of course then she gets chased by Lefty, as it is, if you will. We'll call it flavoring. Finds out the mob's involved, has that moment of, no, we won't have the same things as big cities have. We're not going to let the mob in here. Run them out, run them out. And they go and blow up the smelter, literally, and then knock everybody out with chloroform as a side result. She learns that very important life lesson of it's all about her friends, and it's all about her finding happiness within herself. Jazz has problems with accepting what's around her, who's around her, and what their actual intentions are for her, which doesn't happen in every book. And in a book like this, I really didn't expect to see that happen. And it looked good on Andy Weir, so thank you for taking us a different direction this time than you did the last time. Not every book you read is going to have mind-breaking or mind-bending things in it that you're going to have to get your head around in order to enjoy the book. This was certainly one of them. Artemis was certainly a book. However, I think as a first-person shooter or first-person puzzle game, it would have worked a lot better. Simply because the story, in the way that it was told, it does meet all the classic criteria, but it seems not that there was something missing, but if there was another element that was involved, it would be so much more. If I were to give this book a Philly D rating, how many heads would it get out of 5? Let's see them pop up, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. It gets 4 out of 5 Philly D heads. Thank you for watching the review. I hope you guys have had a wonderful day. Go find yourself a good book. If you happen to, let me know about it so I can read it too. Leave me a comment in that section below. Subscribe, hit that like button, and share. And you guys have a wonderful day.